Booktube, it's Kim at middle of the book march, and this is my bookish week for Saturday, March. Why do I do that? It's May 28th. I think I got it right. So, hope everybody's had a good week. I think I have. I've had a good week. I did finish a couple of books that I'm going to tell you about in a minute. And yeah, this is the beginning of a 3-day weekend in the U.S. Monday is Memorial Day, so I get to sleep in 3 days in a row. I remember back in the day when sleeping in meant I'd wake up at 11, 12, 1. Sleeping in now at my age means if I wake up at 7, I'm not doing too bad. That's sleeping in. 8 o'clock if I'm super tired. But it's so funny how what's so different about, college days sleeping in versus old ladies sleeping in. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. And if it doesn't rain, I'm hoping to get some gardening and yard work done. We've been inadvertently taking part in No Mow May, so that we've got wildflowers in our front yard, and we've got clover and hopefully some bumblebees out there and some bugs that could use the nutrition and the flowers and all of that, but we will eventually mow the lawn. Last summer, we rototilled it and we planted all kinds of wildflowers. We just threw them all over the front yard. And so we mowed a perimeter around that. And I'm hoping this year it comes up even thicker. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have some plants and flowers right in front of my house that we make look pretty with mulch and all of that. So yeah, that's our gardening plans for the weekend. Now, the light is going to go back and forth because the sun is coming out. It's been cloudy, and all of a sudden the sun is coming out. So my lighting is going to go kind of nutty. But yeah, whatever. Let me tell you about the 2 books I finished last week. I finished Actress by Anne Enright as a buddy read with Britta Bohler. And we both, I think, almost felt the exact same way about this book. I love Anne Enright's writing. She's very artistic and different, and her sentences flow together very well and descriptive. It was just a pleasure to continue to read her writing. The content of the story was not that interesting. It was fine. This is a book about Catherine O'Dell, who is a famous and infamous movie star. And she is the single mother to Nora. Now, the book goes back and forth in time. It's Nora is looking back on her 21st birthday party. She is reminiscing about her mother and her mother's heyday, her mother's life before Nora herself was born. So she's kind of going back and forth, and she's recounting the history for the reader of her and her mother's relationship. And, what it meant to have a famous mother and how people treated her as the famous actress's daughter. So that was interesting. And there's a lot of really quirky events that happen. She kind of looks at that as far as the friend group that her mother had around her all the time, and the different characters. And she also talks about the fact that she never knew her father. And she was really trying to find some of her own history and try to figure out who she really was. So that part was interesting. It was all interesting, but I wasn't fascinated. And it was a nice story. It was very funny at times. Yeah, and Enright is an Irish author. This is set in Ireland and Dublin, and her mother gets to go to Hollywood and gets to become famous, and she goes back and forth between the U.S. and Ireland. So it was an interesting story, and the writing was very smooth and very enjoyable. So I think I will definitely pick up another Anne Enright novel. And so Britta and I had a really good time with that buddy read. I had a very fun one. I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Emily Henry's first novel was Beach Read, which I just loved. We had a blast with my in real life book group, The Critical Chicks, reading Beach Read. It was so much fun, so much funny, witty banter, and that book and this one, this is her third novel, are very similar in that they were kind of not hate to love, but irritated acquaintances to love. And of course, it's a contemporary romance. There's a happily ever after. This is the story of another Nora. Nora, who is a New York City literary agent, and Charlie, who is a New York City literary editor. And they know each other from the same publishing and literary circles. They are workaholics. It talks about a writer that Nora is representing, and this woman is coming out with yet another best-selling book. And talking about the marketing, Nora has a beloved younger sister, Libby, and there's a lot that has to do with Nora's background and her baggage. And we come to find out towards the middle of the book that Charlie has some of his own baggage as well. So there's a lot about relationships, and not just a love relationship. There's a lot about who you're going to love, who's going to love you for exactly who you are, what you do to get over trauma in your life, how you interact with a person that you work with, that you really come to understand that you're developing feelings for. It's small town versus New York City attitudes and dynamics. It was so much fun. The only minor criticism I have was there was a lot of dialogue, and at times it seemed like she was really pushing hard to be witty and clever. And I think she could have cut down some of the dialogue and given a little bit more background into their lives. Although there was quite a bit already, but it just felt orchestrated to me. Like she was really laying it on heavy, laying it on thick with the witty banter and the dialogue. But it was still a super fun read. I loved, once in a while you got to have a book with a happily ever after, and I really did love that. It hit me exactly when I needed it, and so really had a good time with this one. So those are the two books I finished last week. I think I was gonna hit a library sale. I didn't. Next week there's one closer to me. I think I'm gonna go to that one. But what I wanted to show you, I'm not going to show you my currently reading because it's the same stuff I've been showing you. I have 4 very heavy books happening right now, and they're also very long. And so I'm kind of going to, those are always going to be there. I don't know if I'll finish those in the next month or 2. So I'm just going to keep plugging away at those 4 books, and I'll let you know when I finish them. So I'm going to be posting my next video on Wednesday, but I wanted to show you 2 books that I'm going to be picking up for June. One of them is a buddy read, and one of them is our next Critical Chicks in Real Life book group pick. The first one is Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, and I'm going to be buddy reading this with AJ Dunn. And they are so funny because AJ and I were talking over Voxer about when do we want to read this book. And we both kind of landed on the same timeline. We're going to start on June 1st and we're going to end on June 4th. And thank goodness AJ and I feel similarly that we both really enjoy just diving into a book and reading it and not having to schedule any little bits of check-ins and that type of things. And they said the same thing. Like, I really like, just getting into it and reading it straight through because I really enjoy that. And I am an epic buddy read fail because I always tend to speed up my reading because I enjoy the exact same thing. So not a real coincidence, but CriminOlly is hosting a read-along of this book in June for June on the Range, which was originated by Michael K. Vaughan and is hosted by several booktubers, and I will link all of those channels and information down below. But this was a book that's been on my books that I'm avoiding backlist. And so AJ and I don't even remember how, I don't remember. One of us saw it on the other one's channel and one of us asked, hey, do you want to buddy read that? And then we said, absolutely. So I really do want to read this. And this has been said to be McCarthy's best novel, so we'll see. And I already know that there's a bunch of violence and probably some really angry stuff to read, and I get that, but we're going to be reading that in the first 4 days in June. The next book that I am going to be reading by, I believe, June 24th is my next Critical Chicks meeting. This is a reread for me. This is John Irving's Hotel New Hampshire. And my friend Ludi, who picked our next selections, picked books that originated or were written in or were written by New Hampshire authors. And I read this many, many years ago. John Irving was always a favorite author of mine. And I had this book for a really long time. That's how old this book is. Look at that picture of Irving. He is not that young anymore. No offense to him, but hey, life happens, right? This originally was published in 1981 by Garp Enterprises. The World According to Garp is one of my favorite novels. And so we're going to be reading this for June 24th. And this is, it's a hotel, New Hampshire. John Barry is a narrator and middle son of a really quirky, weird family, 5 children, 1 bear, and a dog named Sorrow. I don't know if anybody's read this or have seen the movie with Rob Lowe and Jodie Foster. It's a very strange book. It's a very strange movie. Irving usually writes really odd, quirky novels, and so I'm going to be rereading that, and I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't picked up a John Irving novel for a while, so, and it'll be a reread, so that's something I don't do very often, and I'm looking forward to doing that too. Here comes the sun again. I don't know what's happening, so it's a short one this week, you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books or what you thought. Book Lovers by Emily Henry is really going around to a lot of different people, especially those of us who love books and love to read. And so let me know if you had fun with that one, if you read it, what you thought. I started to read People We Meet on Vacation, her second novel, and I didn't really like that one, and I DNF'd it pretty quickly, probably after 30, 40 pages. If you've read that one and think maybe I should revisit it and would enjoy it, would have fun with it, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.